Qin Tang understood there was no reason to proceed with the test any further. Something abnormal had arisen during this trial. Even if he were to create countless worlds, he likely still would not be able to erode this person's steadfast will. If his master were present, he would surely feel immense joy at witnessing such an extraordinary genius. Unfortunately, a hint of sorrow flickered through Qin Tang's eyes. After releasing a long sigh, the crowd gradually awoke from their illusory dreams. They found themselves still standing in the very plaza where they had begun. Some looked confused, others turned pale the instant they regained clarity. A few, however, appeared enlightened, as though they had gained insight from the trials. Observing the varied expressions among the cultivators, Qin Tang smiled and declared, "The 3 trials have come to an end. Some of you have exceeded my expectations, while others have performed rather poorly. Our sect leader once told me that when Cloudwater Palace recruits disciples, we prioritize quality over quantity. Therefore, only half of you will be allowed to stay." The cultivators who had just been smiling stiffened, their expressions darkening at Qin Tang's words. "What exactly do you mean by that?" They knew very well how they had fared in the 3 trials. "I was only focused on memorizing the cultivation methods before. I barely copied any books at all. I stumbled after only a few steps in the 2nd trial. I'm finished this time. I only cared about indulging in pleasure within the illusion. I'm afraid I'm among the half Qin Tang intends to kill." Upon realizing that Qin Tang meant to eliminate half of those present, shock and fury overtook them. Pushed into a corner, they launched an attack against him. Qin Tang showed no anger, he simply maintained a faint smile. "I, Qin Tang, Chief of the Technique Transmission Pavilion of Cloudwater Palace, respectfully seek your instruction." As he spoke, translucent blue figures suddenly appeared beside half of the cultivators in the plaza. They were exact replicas, identical in appearance, aura, and even strength. The instant they formed, they unleashed relentless, killing strikes. Watching the cultivators fight desperately, Qin Tang spoke unhurriedly. "Our sect leader, my senior uncle, is indeed strict, yet my master once told me never to push matters to the absolute extreme. If you can withstand your own reflections, I will let this matter rest." Those who were not targeted, including Li Fan, quickly retreated from the battlefield to avoid being dragged into the chaos. After withdrawing to a safe distance, Li Fan began calmly assessing the situation. The blue reflections fought with savage intensity, never showing fatigue and seemingly incapable of being harmed. Ordinary cultivators stood no chance against them. In mere moments, many were overwhelmed. Before long, quite a number had already been slain by their own duplicates. The few who remained could scarcely endure, their predicament growing more dire by the second. Driven into desperation, they began shouting curses at Qin Tang. "Come to your senses, what disciples are you even talking about taking? Cloudwater Palace was destroyed long ago. What nonsense about your master and sect leader? When disaster struck, didn't you all turn against each other?" "Turn against each other?" Qin Tang repeatedly shook his head at those words. "Cloudwater Palace stands united as one. We honor and protect one another. We would willingly give our lives for our fellow disciples. How could we ever betray each other?" As Qin Tang continued speaking, his voice slowly faded. His brows knitted tightly, as though recalling something. "Calamity, calamity." He murmured the words again and again under his breath, and the sky above the plaza dimmed ominously. The blue phantoms assailing the cultivators began to change. Thick darkness seeped from within them, dyeing their forms pitch black in an instant. These ink-dark reflections were far more brutal and lethal than the blue ones before them. In the blink of an eye, most of the remaining cultivators were cut down. Only a small handful struggled on, barely alive. Yet Qin Tang still had not regained clarity. He continued muttering to himself. "Calamity, calamity." The ground of the plaza trembled violently. Dark clouds bore down from above. Lightning flashed as thunder roared. Even those cultivators who had not been attacked and had merely stood watching began to feel the looming threat. However, facing Qin Tang in his unsettled state, none dared to act rashly. For a time, everyone was at a loss for what to do. At that moment, Li Fan slowly approached Qin Tang. Holding a wine gourd in hand, he patted Qin Tang lightly on the shoulder and extended it toward him. With a composed smile, Li Fan said softly, "Senior brother Qin, have a drink. Don't think about it anymore, there is no calamity. Qin Tang turned toward him. After sniffing lightly, he instinctively took the gourd and drank deeply. Then he looked at Li Fan with a slightly vacant expression. No calamity? Li Fan nodded firmly and repeated. That's right, there is no calamity whatsoever. Gradually, clarity returned to Qin Tang's eyes as he murmured again and again. No calamity, no calamity, no calamity. Ha ha ha, you are correct, there is no calamity at all. After some time, Qin Tang burst into hearty laughter and finally regained his composure. The abnormal phenomena surrounding them faded away, and peace and tranquility returned to the area once more. Witnessing this, everyone present let out a collective breath of relief, their gazes toward Li Fan filled with gratitude. At that very moment, Li Fan's heart stirred. He sensed two faint strands of killing intent quietly locking onto him. Though the killing intent was extremely subtle, Li Fan's perception was exceptionally keen. There was no way he could be mistaken. The source of those two strands of killing intent was none other than Sikong Yi and Bai Lichen.